Well, today I've got a clear bench. Now when I got up this morning, I looked at Facebook and I see Chris Southwell is still looking for some bumper irons. So what I thought I'd do is I'll get my bumpers down from the shelf there. They haven't been touched since I took them off the car, and the bumper irons are still bolted to the bumpers. So I'm going to get it down here, have a look and see if it's possible to remake those bumper irons. I'm Steve and welcome to my channel. So I was going to take this down anyway, so just taking it a bit earlier than I planned to. This hasn't been touched because it's still got the road dirt on here, and I painted this silver the second time it was resprayed. I think I'll get all the grease off first. Just using white spirit, first thing that came to hand really. There's a load of old paint in here, but I don't care. Just let them soak. Right, that looks nice and straight. Luckily, all these bolts have been off before and greased when those put back, so it makes all the difference. I could see people struggling with these because they must rust. Right, so I've made a drawing of the left front bumper iron. And the size is 1.5 inches wide by 5/16 thick. So the hardest part is getting this bend here. It'll have to be red hot to bend it like that. So I'm going to see if I've got a bit of metal this size and see if it's possible to produce that bend. And then if that's the case, then this one should be okay to do as well, and I'll leave the holes till last. So it turned out that I didn't have some metal that size, so I ordered some 40 by 8mm watt thick, and I wish I'd have got 35 now because it would have been much easier to bend. Anyway, while I was waiting for that to be delivered, I decided to paint the inside of the bumper and put the overriders on. Now when I got these overriders down from the shelf and I found 2 in the drawer, I realised I've got 3 like this and I've got 1 like that, which is a completely different fitting, and where this one goes onto was the back bumper, which I had this on the front bumper, and I now realise this should have gone on the back bumper because the bracket on the back has been cut off, so this goes on the back. It's not a problem, I'm just keeping that. But the problem is I've only got 1 of these bolts. Now these carriage bolts have got 2 flats under here and they go in there. So I bought a bag of 5 stainless carriage bolts, and the heads, as you can see, are much too big. So I'm going to try to reduce these heads. The square is just right size to go in there. So I've measured across that gap there, and I'm going to reduce it to that size, and that is measuring 0.644, which is 16.36 millimeters. So that's what I'm going to reduce now. That measures 16.5 now, and it goes in all three of my overriders just nicely. So what I'm going to do now is I will shape this a bit and polish it a little bit, but I'm also going to file these two corners off so that it goes further into there. So at the moment the corners are stopping it going in, and that's why the original bolt only had two flats on it. So that's turned out all right. I just polished it up, and the black side is the side that I've just filed down. I just took the corners off and it goes in there nicely. After I painted inside here, I'm going to put the bolt in, and I'm going to bend that tab up so it's touching the top there. One problem, I just tried this bolt through the bumper and it won't go. Now the bumper has an elongated hole in it, so what I'm going to do is put two flats down here. It doesn't take much, it's about 1/2 mil too big, this is. So that's all that's needed, and it won't affect the thread at all really. So this is 10 mil, this bolt. So that's done. I don't know if you can see this reflected in the light. I literally took like 5 strokes of the file. It's nothing really, on both sides, and that went in the hole fine. So I will measure across there. Let's have a look. So this is a 10 mil bolt, so they're always under, so it's 0.2 under, and across the flats it is, oh there you go, 9.4. So it's not much at all on each side, and that won't affect the strength of the thread at all. So I cleaned up all the bolts on the wire brush, and this is the size. So these bolts attach the bracket to the chassis rails, and they are 7/16 UNF by 2 3/4 long. These attach the bracket to the bumper. They're 3/8 UNF by 7/8 long, and the original overrider bolt is 3/8 UNF, but I could only get a 10 mil bolt, a stainless carriage bolt. Oh right, so first problem, that is far too long. So I've cut all those bolts, and it's the same length as the old one, and that is 2 inches. So now I can fit the first overrider. So you can see it's still quite a bit long, but I don't mind that because if I ever want to put a badge bar, I don't know if they fit on here or a bracket for a spotlight or something on here, I've got the extra length. I'm wondering why, that's why Ford left them a bit longer than they need to be. And I'm also going to put a lock nut on here, because you don't want this working loose, even though I've got a spring washer under the nut. It is still possible to shake off. So I'm just going to put a lock nut on the top. Probably you won't see it, you would if you put your head down and have a look, but and then lock that together like that. That seems okay. So if this does work loose for some reason, I'm not going to lose an overrider. Mind you, I know all about it if I did. So I did the same thing, this lock nut trick. I did the same thing when I put the rear axle onto the springs, because there's a rubber between the axle and the leaf springs, and you can't bolt it down to a solid shoulder. And I tightened it and tightened it and tightened it, and it was just squashing the rubber. And so I decided to go down the route of lock nuts on the U-bolts. If you haven't seen that video, go back into my old videos, click the video tab and scroll right down, and it's one of the earlier videos. So when the steel arrived, I was able to get on and make the new brackets. Now the two bricks you see there are not ordinary bricks, they are fire bricks, and it would be much more difficult to get that steel red hot without those bricks. It really helps. Yeah, this is not hot enough. I'm going to try the Oxy Turbo now. If I go too far, I can strain it in the vise, I think. Right, I'm going to try it a different way now. Just put it in the vise. I'll do it up really tight. And I found a bigger hammer. So that big sledgehammer certainly did the job. It's actually made it go too far. Right, so now I need to bend this corner, this radius up, and I was lucky to find that bit of brass is exactly the right radius. That's it. Right, that's it. So right, so I've laid the new one on top of the old one, and it's looking okay. I'm going to let that cool down and trim it to size. Just put a radius on that end, and then I'll cut that to size, put a radius on that end, and then do the holes. So that's one bracket finished. There is a difference between my original left and my original right, and there's a bit of a kink in here. So I will just be copying this one when I do the right hand side. Just do it round the other way, and I won't be filming that. So I've just put these brackets on loose because I want to see how it fits on the car. Oh, so that's good. Oh, I'm just doing these up finger tight. And seeing if we've got, yeah. So that's good. That fits nicely. I won't really tell until I get the front panel on and I bolt the wings on, but I can't see any reason why that shouldn't line up. And you've got this much adjustment. So as I said at the beginning, these new brackets I'm not going to put on this car. I'm going to use the original brackets. I just wanted to see if it's possible to make new brackets, and so I've actually succeeded in that. It was much more difficult than I originally thought, but I've done it. So that's the end of this video. If you like my videos, don't forget to click the like button, and if you want to see more, click subscribe, and it helps my channel out a lot. So until next time, bye. So that's the end. Thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.